Why your silence is the most powerful response you can give. There comes a moment in every person's life when words feel futile. You're hurt, provoked, misunderstood, accused, and your instinct is to react, to defend, to explain, to fight back. But in that very instant, when emotions are running high and noise surrounds you, there lies a quiet, hidden power most never access, the power of silence. We live in a world addicted to expression. Everyone wants to speak. Everyone needs to be heard. Social media trains us to respond immediately, to share every emotion, to comment, defend, clarify. But the more we speak, the more we reveal, and often, the more we give away the very thing we're trying to protect, our peace. Silence, in contrast, feels counterintuitive. It feels like doing nothing. But it's not. It's the ultimate form of self-control. It's the art of restraint in a world that rewards impulsiveness. It's the quiet strength of knowing you don't owe anyone an explanation. And sometimes, the most powerful statement you can make is no statement at all. Think about the last time someone tried to provoke you. Maybe it was a passive-aggressive remark, a cruel accusation, or a manipulative gesture disguised as kindness. What did they want? A reaction. Because reactions feed egos. Reactions give power. When you argue, you validate. When you explain, you expose. And when you try to win the game, you agree to play it. But when you choose silence, you step outside of that game entirely. There's a quote often attributed to Marcus Aurelius: "You always own the option of having no opinion." There is never a need to lose your inner peace over something outside your control. Stoicism isn't about indifference. It's about discernment. It's about realizing that not every battle deserves your energy and not every insult requires your voice. Silence isn't weakness, it's wisdom in action. Because to remain silent in the face of noise requires strength. To hold your frame while someone else loses theirs is mastery. Silence isn't retreat, it's strategy. It's choosing to protect your energy rather than proving your point. It's letting your presence say what your words no longer need to. Let me tell you a story. There was a man. Let's call him Elijah. Smart, dependable, hardworking. He had built a strong reputation at his company over the years. Then one day, during a particularly tense restructuring, a colleague made a false claim that painted Elijah in a bad light. The whispers spread fast, doubt crept in, and all eyes turned to Elijah, waiting for a reaction. He could have fought back, called a meeting, sent emails, demanded an apology, but he didn't. Instead, he stayed still. He kept doing his job. He didn't plead or perform. He let his record speak. He let the dust settle. And when it did, the truth came out. The lie unraveled. The accuser exposed themselves, not because Elijah fought to reveal it, but because he didn't. His silence forced the world to observe, not react. And that, ironically, said everything. Here's what most people don't understand. Silence isn't the absence of action. It's the presence of control. It's a mirror that reflects back what others refuse to see in themselves. When you don't respond, they're left to wrestle with their own behavior. And that is often far more powerful than any argument you could make. In relationships, silence can become a boundary. When someone consistently disrespects you, invalidates you, or plays games with your emotions, your silence is a declaration. Not of defeat, but of self-worth. It's you saying, I will not shrink myself to be heard by someone who chooses not to listen. When someone betrays you and you walk away without a dramatic exit, without shouting or pleading, that quiet exit echoes. Because silence isn't just what you don't say. It's what you no longer give, your time, your energy, your explanation. And perhaps the most painful silence is the one you offer when someone realizes too late what they lost. They come back, asking for a conversation, seeking closure, but by then, you've healed, you've found your peace, and your silence is no longer about withholding, it's about preserving what you rebuilt. Yourself. Psychology backs this up. Neuroscience tells us that emotional regulation, the ability to pause, breathe, and not react impulsively, is a cornerstone of emotional intelligence. When you respond with silence, you're not suppressing emotion, you're managing it. You're saying, I choose peace over performance. But make no mistake, silence is not passive, it's active resistance. It's choosing to remove yourself from the chaos rather than contribute to it. And in doing so, you flip the dynamic. You take the steering wheel back from those who would drive you off course. There's also something deeply spiritual about silence. In many traditions, silence is seen as sacred. Monks take vows of silence not because they have nothing to say, but because they are choosing to listen, deeply, internally, to the world within and around them. In silence, you meet yourself, you confront your own truth. And that is not always comfortable, but it is always necessary. We often fear silence because it forces us to feel, to reflect, to sit with the discomfort of not being in control. But what if silence is where true control begins? What if everything you're looking for, peace, clarity, strength, doesn't come from having the last word, but from having the courage to say nothing at all? Let's go deeper. You're not obligated to fix every misunderstanding. You're not required to correct every wrong perception. If someone is committed to misunderstanding you, no amount of talking will change that. Words become useless when the listener has already made up their mind. So why waste them? Instead, let your consistency speak. Let your actions speak. Let time speak. Because while lies travel fast, the truth doesn't need a megaphone, it only needs endurance. And silence, in that context, is the stage upon which truth eventually takes the spotlight. There's a reason the phrase, silence is golden, still holds power. In the heat of chaos, silence cools. In the face of provocation, silence disarms. In the noise of conflict, silence cuts through. You begin to realize that you don't have to respond to every challenge. You don't have to attend every argument you're invited to. Not because you're afraid, but because you've evolved. Because your peace has become more important than your pride. This doesn't mean you never speak. It doesn't mean you suppress. It means you choose. You speak when it adds value. You speak when it aligns with your peace. But when it doesn't, you don't. And that kind of discernment? That's power. Imagine a world where more people practiced this kind of silence. Fewer reactive arguments. Fewer broken relationships from things said in anger. More space. More clarity. More calm. Silence isn't a void, it's a vessel. A place where real healing and real strength begin. So the next time you feel provoked, pause. The next time someone disrespects you, breathe. The next time you're tempted to explain your worth, don't. Because your silence, if chosen wisely, will say everything that needs to be said. It says, I am not yours to provoke. I am not here to perform. I am not required to respond. I choose peace. I choose power. I choose silence. And that is the loudest statement you'll ever make.